So this is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of Baby Angel Geronimo Editions. This is part B of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo Editions. And this one is timed at 1900 hours GMT on Saturday, the 2nd of September 2023. And this broadcast is happening in the afternoon of Saturday, of course, in the evening of Saturday, the 2nd of September 2023. Today's morning scar, the daily organ of the Communist CPGB, Communist Party morning scar, has got the splash heading. Labour calls for audit as Tories admit RAAC risk to more schools. This is about the concrete collapse that has been happening in many of these schools in England. And the later reports that have been published during the day also suggest that the concrete collapse that has been affecting schools have been affecting other buildings as well. And this heading in the Morning Star, giving credit to the Labour Party, this is byline to Benny Tory. And the first paragraph says Labour called for an urgent audit of all public sector buildings containing concrete at risk of sudden collapse yesterday, as teaching unions demanded that the government covers the related costs for schools. And the second paragraph is that the party's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, accused the Conservatives of sitting on their hands before telling 104 schools and colleges containing the material they must close classrooms days before the school year begins. So this is another manifestation of what the so-called ex-wife of Michael Gove, Sarah Venity, said in the Daily Mail on Wednesday. About Britain not working. And she was on the same day in the Daily Mail echoed by Leo McNasty, talking about Miss Haddad, a senior civil servant in the Home Office, having joined the Amnesty International, as if that itself constituted evidence that the government was being audited. The Morning Star is, of course, the publication, the organ of the Communist Party of Great Britain. But this heading, Labour calls for audit, as Tories admit RAAC risk to more schools, is too timid. And it doesn't actually tell the truth about the lack of accountability by local authorities, local councils, local areas where the schools are under the control of the local authorities, local councils. And without the local councils being held to account, and without the local councils being seen to be held to account as a continuation throughout the whole year, this kind of headline and this kind of calls amount to nothing but stunts. Neither the Morning Star, Guardian, nor indeed the Daily Mirror is addressing the reality that in England, the culture of the executives, is one of denial. For instance, when we talk about Shamima Begum, Khadija Sultana, Amira Abbasi, and Sharmina Begum in the context of Tower Hamlets, and in the context of Tower Hamlets Council's abandoning safeguarding children duties that the council owed to these four schoolgirls. We also at the same time point evidentially, contextually, in the direction of the entire dysfunctioning bureaucracy that is overpaid and allowed to do anything as it likes. We shall be continuing on these issues. Now, going back to the coverage of the announcement that Muhammad Al-Fayed has passed away. The Times admits that he is Al-Fayed. Now, what the racist, anti-Muslim, private lie would say remains to be seen, but they never acknowledged Al-Fayed's name, his identity, his origins. And on page 5 of the Times, they ran the story by Fiona Hamilton, chief reporter, headed Al-Fayed carried his grief to the grave. This is something that we have already referred to. And we shall see what kind of language the Times is using in describing his grief. Muhammad Al-Fayed, the Egyptian billionaire who once owned Harrods and Fulham Football Club, has died aged 94, his family confirmed last night, almost 26 years to the day after his son was killed alongside Diana, Princess of Wales, in a car crash in Paris. Now, of course, the grief that Muhammad Al-Fayed actually had included the fact that his son was killed, but it was based on something equally significant in that he accused the British monarchy of murdering his son and Diana. After the couple were killed in the car crash on August 31st, 1997, Al-Fayed blamed the royal family and spread conspiracy theories that the security services had orchestrated the tragedy on behalf of Prince Philip. He said the royals were a Dracula family at an inquest into the couple's deaths. And even after the jury concluded that a negligent driver was to blame, Al Fayed was unable to accept it. Al Fayed died convinced that his son's death was at the hands of dark forces aimed at preventing Diana from marrying a Muslim and bearing his child. His family said in a statement released by Fulham FC, Mrs. Mohamed Al Fayed, her children and grandchildren, wished to confirm that her beloved husband, their father and their grandfather, Mohammed, has passed away peacefully of old age on Wednesday, August the 30th, 2023. He enjoyed a long and fulfilling, I read that again. He enjoyed a long and fulfilled retirement surrounded by his loved ones. The family have asked for their privacy to be respected at this time. Earlier, Ashraf Haider, the husband of one of Al Fayed's granddaughters, wrote in Arabic on a private Facebook account, "My wife's grandfather died today. To God's mercy. From God we come and to God we return." There were prayers at the Regent's Park Mosque in London and a death notice in Egyptian newspapers. A source at the mosque confirmed that an Islamic funeral ritual had taken place, as well as a procession with friends and family. The source said the family went to bury Al Fayed at an undisclosed location. Dodi, a film producer, was Al Fayed's son with his first wife, Samira Khashoggi, the Saudi Arabian author. They divorced in 1956 and she died in 1985. He went on to marry Heini Watan, the Finnish former model who was more than 25 years his junior. They had 4 children, but he never overcame the loss of Dodi. Al Fayed took the British business world by storm after humble beginnings in Alexandria, where he sold soft drinks and sewing machines after high school. He was embraced by Khashoggi's wealthy family. He ran a shipping business, became an advisor to the Sultan of Brunei, and moved to the United Kingdom in the mid 1960s. He bought the Paris Ritz Hotel in 1979 and became a household name when he bought House of Fraser for £615 million, acquiring Harrods as part of the deal. The government accused him of having misrepresented his ability to finance the takeover, but he maintained his solvency. He faced accusations of sexual misconduct, denying an allegation of indecent assault against a 15-year-old girl in 2008. He craved recognition by the British establishment and in 1986 signed a 50-year lease on the Parisian villa of the Duke of Windsor. And Wallis Simpson, he bought Fulham Football Club in 1997, selling it in 2013. In 2010, he sold Harrods to Qatar for a reported $2.4 billion to spend more time with his family. So they have not attacked him in the way that the private lie will attack him, because private lie is particularly vicious despite the fact that it claims to be more liberal than the ordinary Fleet Street papers. Muhammad Al Fayed craved to be part of the establishment, but bristled at the royal family named ministers who took cash for questions and was repeatedly denied citizenship. David Rose and Magdi Al Saman write from the Ritz Hotel in Paris to Harrods and a stake in Fulham FC, his business interests sold from Ritz in Paris to Harrods and a stake in Fulham Football Club. His business interests told a story of outbidding and outfoxing his rivals to make acquisitions that carried influence but not always acceptance. The elder son of an Egyptian primary school teacher who was raised in Roshdi, a prosperous neighborhood of Alexandria, Al Fayed claimed to have been born in 1933, although official documents say 1929. In his youth, he had several jobs, including working as a porter in the port. The turning point in his life came in 1950 when he married Samira, the writer and sister of Adnan Khashoggi, the Saudi businessman and arms dealer, and was employed in the family business. After moving to Europe with the onset of military rule in Egypt, Al Fayed became an advisor to the Sultan of Brunei and persuaded him to invest his wealth in Britain. Al Fayed then founded a shipping company and a marine repair yard in Dubai, the result of a chance meeting with the Amir, Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum. When his boat broke down, there is no such thing as luck. You see the opportunity that comes to you and think about how to make something useful for you and benefit people from it. Al Fayed once said in 1974 he settled in Britain and started amassing assets. So that's the short kind of profile of Al Fayed, but it is done in a spiteful way, and it doesn't mention the thousands of people that he actually employed and thousands of people that he benefited from his charity. And it doesn't mention the fact that he was indeed a Muslim and that Muslims are continued to be discriminated against in this country, no matter what their background in terms of wealth, as they persistently attacked the source of his legitimacy in terms of wealth. So, if you look at the lying done by the High Court Judge Sir Griffiths against baby angel Geronimo, especially in the hearing held on the 29th of July 2021, you can see how brazenly dishonest the High Court judge can be and is and was and has been. So, if you compare any of the insinuated kind of pretensions by Al Fayed about his source of wealth and money with the open lying by Griffiths, who said that fabricating and rigging a test on the health of baby angel Geronimo was okay. And there he was sitting as a judge, supposedly to look at the evidence, supposedly behaving independently, supposedly being independent of the executive in the United Kingdom. So, if the judges are like that, how is it possible to distinguish Al Fayed from these judges? It's not possible to distinguish him from the judges. In fact, given the decades that he's stayed in the United Kingdom, Al Fayed continued to employ thousands of people, which is very significant indeed, because most of the people he employed are white people, British people, non Muslim people. But they never give him any acknowledgement for that, any recognition for that, and there is no mention of this at all in these two pieces that they have published in the Times on page 5 of today's Saturday. Now, back to Whitechapel, where I met. How many people did I meet in Whitechapel today? This afternoon, I met one of the young persons that was part of the movement against racism called Shamsuddin Shams. And another one is somebody who introduced himself as being related to a cousin of mine. That cousin lives in the USA, and this individual is related to my cousin's wife. And another person who is the nephew or relation to the late Muhammad Muqtadir. So he spoke, the three of them, and then shortly before that, I met another one. And my point to the other one was, how did the Labour Party in Tower Hamlets allow Lutfur Rahman to get elected? And this individual said that the Labour Party is finished, and that the Labour Party finished, and also Lutfur was helped by the fact that many people voted for him. I said, obviously, many people voted for him, but the condition for giving him the opportunity to get the vote or seek the votes was created by the Labour Party itself. And about half an hour or so before that, I met a candidate of the Labour Party in the in the election on the 5th of May 2022 in the Lansbury ward. Lansbury ward is the area that is covered or covers the part that George Lansbury represented when he was a popular councillor in the 1920s. So this individual, the former candidate of the Labour Party in Lansbury ward, said that it was John Biggs's fault. John Biggs is the one who lost the Labour Party the votes. It was the same thing that Abbasuddin alias Halal told me 2 days previously in the Bishopsgate, in that 1 minute conversation I had with Abbasuddin alias Halal. So the question is that if they admit now that it was John Biggs that lost the Labour Party the votes, how is it that when John Biggs was in post and I was pointing out various of his lies and dishonesties, none of these people would have agreed with me? How come that they're agreeing with me now? So let's check on the on the contents of the so-called Neum Voices. It's a so-called monthly outfit that is published by a gang of racists fronted by Adrian White. Adrian White denies that he's a racist, but he is a racist because what the Neum Voices is doing is sucking up to Roxana Fias and her racist cabal. Although she is herself not white, she is a product of the racists that control the cabal of the mayor in Newham. And the latest edition of the Newham Voices, fronted by Adrian White, is an embarrassing, stupid example of Adrian White's dishonesty. Adrian White is dishonest because the item that he allegedly reports about the Newham Council being ordered to pay £5,400 for creating damp and mold in a person's house in Newham. He doesn't say that Newham Council has been condemned, extensively condemned, by the Housing Ombudsman in the ruling. So we shall be talking about Adrian White and his racist Newham Voices in a later edition, but this is just to mention that he has produced a racist, dishonest edition of the Newham Voices. Now, back to the Communist Party Morning Scar, and it is a piece by Peter Lazenby. Now, Lazenby is known as being linked with Private Lie. A coalition of more than 70 human rights and campaign groups has presented a petition to Downing Street demanding the government drops its bid to outlaw investment boycotts. A coalition of more than 70 human rights and campaign groups has presented a petition to Downing Street demanding the government drop its bid to outlaw investment boycotts. The Economic Activity of Public Bodies Overseas Matters Bill, or Anti Boycott Bill, is about to enter its committee stage in the Commons. It aims to prevent publicly financed organizations such as councils, universities, and public sector pension funds from deciding how to spend, invest, and trade ethically in line with international law and human rights. The Palestine Solidarity Committee, I'll read that again. The Palestine Solidarity Campaign, one of the 70 organizations which collected almost 18,000 signatures, believes its boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign, BDS, against Israel is a target of the legislation. The bill faces opposition across the Commons and is also opposed by the Scottish Government, with pressure growing on the Welsh Government to follow suit. The coalition, which includes trade unions, charities, faith, climate justice, and human rights groups, has stated that the bill will strike a The bill will stifle a wide range of campaigns for justice, erode local democracy, and threaten freedom of expression. Palestine Solidarity Campaign UK Director Ben Jamal said, the huge resources to this petition again, not resource, its response. The huge response to this petition reflects widespread alarm across whole swaths of progressive civil society that the anti boycott bill represents a major attack on freedom of expression. Opposition to this bill is growing because it threatens not just the ability of public bodies to take part in boycott and divestment campaigns in support of Palestinian rights, but all those who seek change through peaceful and democratic means. Grace da Costa of Quakers in Britain, which opposes the legislation, said Quakers have a long history of non-violent action against global injustices. Boycotts and divestments are key tools in the campaign for equality, peace, and sustainability. The government must withdraw this bill to protect human rights in the United Kingdom and around the world. Signatories include Liberty, Unison, Unite the Union, University and College Union Friends of the Earth, Greenpeace UK, War on Want, Muslim Association of Britain, Methodist Church in Britain, and Campaign Against Arms Trade. The anti-apartheid movement's international boycott of South Africa, which contributed to the downfall of the country's racist regime in the early 1990s, would have been illegal in Britain if the legislation had been in place at the time. So this is a piece that is not covered in the Guardian by the Guardian, and most certainly not covered by the other papers. And in the USA, police have murdered a black mom to be. The video of that murder by the American police has been released just in the last 48 hours. Ohio authorities released body cam video yesterday showing police officer shooting dead a pregnant black woman in her car, an act that her family denounced as a gross misuse of power and authority. Columbus resident Takia Young, 21, was pronounced dead shortly after the shooting on August 24th outside a food shop in the suburb of Blandon Township. Her unborn daughter did not survive. The footage made public more than a week after her death shows another officer at the driver's side window repeatedly demanding that Miss Young get out of the car. The officer by her window tells Miss Young she has been accused of theft. She protests and he repeats his demand that she leave the vehicle. She turns the steering wheel to her right and accelerates towards the officer standing in front of it. The officer in front of the vehicle fires through the windscreen at Miss Young, and seconds later her car drifts until it hits the shop's brick wall. Officers then break her window, which Blandon Township Police Chief John Belfort said was to get Miss Young out of the car and provide fast aid. The footage of the medical assistance was not provided. So the police chief was lying. Miss Young's family members were able to view the footage before its public release. They gave a statement yesterday through their lawyer, Sean Walton. Having viewed the footage in its entirety, it is undeniable that Takia's death was not only avoidable but also a gross misuse of power and authority. Now, why do they use this kind of language? Who the fuck do they think they are? It's not up to them to talk about power and authority. It is murder. What stops them talking about murder? So you can see the licensed law traders advising victims of racist murder to suppress the evidence in their statements. So there is a short piece about the Tehreek-e-Insaf in Pakistan hiring the licensed law trader from the United Kingdom, the Australian-born Jeffrey Robertson. And this is connected with the criticism from Nawaz Sharif's party that Jeffrey Robertson is known as an advocate for anti-state clients. So this is an ongoing piece, of course, but we shall update in due course. The other item about Imran Khan is that he is prepared to talk to various institutions about the forthcoming election in Pakistan, not on any other topic. Again, we shall be talking about that in detail when the details are made available, accessible. So there is a piece in the My London website about a man called Hugh Tomlinson, described as being aged 81 years. An elderly man living out of suitcases and hotel rooms claims he was unlawfully evicted and is unsure whether he will ever be able to return to his East London home. This is the story of Hugh Thompson. What is his name? Is it Tomlinson or Thompson? Let's check as we go along. Who's, who was one of hundreds of social housing tenants and leaseholders asked to leave their homes so that the housing association, Popla Harka, could carry out major renovation works at Balfron Tower in Poplar Tower Hamlets. Mr. Thompson, 81, says since living in hotels, his life has become worse than prison because he feels isolated and is frustrated that he missed out on seeing his parents before they died in New Zealand. He claims his life for the past 7 years has been an act of survival. Inside Mr. Thompson's hotel room, a shoebox is used to keep food and medicines. Veggies and put them in jars. He puts them in jars and keeps them on trays. I've got all of these meals ahead of me. It's terrible. I can't eat proper meals. In the other hotels, I was eating a lot of healthy drinks. Probably had diabetes, and that's why I got nervous to my shoes. I'm not having an living out of West London hotel and feels he couldn't be farther from his East London flat. which he moved into during the night, later bought under the right to buy scheme. Mr. Thompson told the local democracy reporting service, I saw an ad saying empty flats in East London and South London for couples, social housing. It was a penthouse on the 20th floor, so we took it. I started renting from the Greater London Council, and they were good because they had built the building and then we had to manage it. The hot water was so hot in the radiator, and the flats were so warm all the time. They were beautiful flats with a beautiful view, and the rent was cheap. So this is another example of the criminals at Poplaharka. Now those criminals were given the control of the properties, council housing stock, by Tony Blair. So this piece is bylined at 6:50 UK time by Ruby Gregory, local democracy reporter.